All right, let's start at the very beginning. Where do new ideas come from? People have a lot of ideas for a new product variant, or an entirely new concept. This presentation is going to consider the question, what do you do with those ideas? Where do you start when you have an idea for a new product? The process has many names: new product development, new product introduction, the list goes on. Or maybe you're project-based and new project introduction is the term you use. What I would like you to think about is, what do you do when you have great ideas? We're going to talk about the origin of those ideas because what you do with them is so important. And it all starts with how you work. We all want to improve on our methodologies. We want to improve our relationships with the people we interact with, not only inside our organization, but outside of our organization as well. For some time now, the goal has been to break down silos, break down barriers, and provide better visibility. And this is especially true now that so many more of us work remotely. We're going to look at different ways that improved product data management and centralized process management can help you solve these problems. Let's talk about what your processes look like today. New product introduction or new project introduction describes the complete process of bringing a new product to market or a new project to completion. This process or series of processes requires the focused efforts of numerous teams within your organization, as well as an extended network of partners and suppliers to ensure that effort is successful. So there are a variety of ways that can be done. This might be something you have formalized. It might be a whiteboard in the office, files on a network drive, handouts that travel with the product. Everybody has a process they use today, even if you don't have it all sewn together, even if it spans across multiple tools like spreadsheets, project software, calendars, emails. Everybody has a process, or they probably wouldn't be in business. But we're going to address how to improve that process, because the cost of poor process has a definite impact that is felt across the entire organization. So research tells us that 80% of new product introductions can fail or be shelved or just fall through the cracks. This is due to changing requirements that aren't managed and shared, products becoming more and more complex over time, constraints on resources doing all that non-value added work, supply chain issues caused by inefficient collaboration, and really just a general lack of visibility of what's going on. These are just some of the challenges of new product development. So let's look at a typical life cycle that shows the creation of a product from the initial idea, all the way on the left, all the way to retirement and end of life on the right. So there's an initial investment with any product. Whether it's a variant, a different configuration, or a new product entirely, there is always an investment that needs to be made. And then, of course, over time, you expect to see revenue. That's why you're bringing a product to market in the first place. Along the way, there are obstacles and roadblocks. Now, we can't do much to eliminate them, but we can improve the way we deal with them to minimize their effect. If the processes are not formalized, or at least documented, everyone ends up doing it their own way, and that typically means everyone else is lost trying to support them. If quality issues found in manufacturing are not tied back to design, they're typically lost and destined to be repeated. And if changing requirements are not visible to all stakeholders, this can mean time wasted on non-value added work, or worse yet, errors in production. And without proactive management, regulatory problems often find a way to come up at the worst possible time. What we hope to do today is show you that product lifecycle management gives you the tools to reduce that initial investment burden. And it can help you move back the timeline and realize profitability much sooner. This will result in increased revenue over the life of the product or the span of the project. PLM with data management and process management introduces enhanced workflows to walk you through the different phases of development, so that you realize substantial improvements across the complete life cycle. But let's back up a little bit and look at a typical development process. Now, this is not everybody's process, but at a general level, we have a sale or interest from the customer at the beginning. It could be interest in a project or a new product idea. Something must kick it off. Then there's engineering work that needs to be done. After that, we have pre-production, production, service, and eventually retirement. Once again, this is a very generic view. You can substitute your own words or phrases in there. Now, there are many systems designed to assist with each of these phases separately. At the front end, we see customer resource management. In the middle, product data management. And on the back end, we see things like enterprise resource planning, material requirements or resource planning, and manufacturing execution systems, just to name a few. Very often, these can be a series of homegrown systems that are typically built over time as an organization changes and grows. So it's not hard to see how inefficiencies can happen when information is in separate systems and travels through different departments, especially since there are probably not efficient processes or even automation in place to share information from one system to the next. This is where product lifecycle management comes in. As we said before, you're already doing PLM in one way or another. You have processes in place, but could they be easier, faster, and more formalized? How do you get information from engineering to the other parts of your business that need it? Could there be a better way? So the key here is process. There are probably many processes in your organization, but at its very simplest form, there are things that need to happen, and they must happen before the next thing can happen. You need to know what happens next, and you need to know what happened to get you to this point. Let's take a closer look inside process management. This is a sample schematic of a typical process in an organization. Again, this might be complex to you, or it might be oversimplified, depending on your company and your product line. But what you can see here is that everything is connected. One thing breaks down and you feel it in the rest of the chain. The reason you implement a PLM system for process management is to make sure that everything is documented and accessible in one central system. It gives you collaboration across divisions and business systems. You're probably doing all of these steps, but there are bottlenecks that happen from manual processes. Time is being wasted, extra costs are incurred, and quality is jeopardized. PLM can help make your product development process more efficient, get your products to market earlier, and empower every department to make your entire business run faster. There's configurable new product introduction that standardizes milestones, deliverables, and tasks. And this can be done by product line, business unit, product team, or any other designation. A structured bill of materials and items can be configured and managed in this centralized system that is both powerful and easy to use. Collaboration with your supply chain in a secure environment ensures that you can quickly and easily approve suppliers and vendors, manage supplier audits, and even supplier corrective actions. Product changes are fully defined, reviewed, approved, and implemented in a collaborative environment. And finally, a coordinated, controlled, and tracked chain of quality processes tied together in a single system. So today, like I said earlier, we are going to focus on new product introduction. So any process where you take an idea from a concept, maybe it goes through prototyping, launch, and beyond, well, that's NPI. NPI is a product development process, and what PLM does is add in the concepts of time and ownership, removing efficiencies that stand in the way of bringing new products to market on time and on budget. Everyone is aligned with configurable project templates that standardize things like milestones, deliverables, and tasks. You can see who owns it, determine if something has slipped through the cracks, or if something is overdue. And it's real time, providing project management alongside design management. So in there you can look at a product, a group of products, a complete portfolio of all the products, and this can be done week over week, quarter over quarter, year over year. All the progress and performance is monitored. There's real-time to-do lists and instant notifications that help individuals stay on track. You can set milestones and then make sure that you actually meet those milestones. With a customizable workflow, including approvals and sign-off, PLM helps you make sure that everything is done on time. And then, over time, every new project or every new product launch gets better and better. All right, let's start by looking at product portfolio rollup. PLM allows you to put all of your product lines or projects into one system. You can look at a particular product or a complete product line. Perhaps there are variants of a product that you want to review. They can be viewed and sorted. Maybe there are different target markets you want to filter by. All the data associated with that product or project is rolled up and visible. Reports can be run and output can be created based on this data. Managing your product portfolio and active projects is a key strength of our PLM system. It provides the visibility and sets the expectations. It becomes the single source of information for everyone. Let's go deeper and look at the product details. Within the product portfolio, we have all the product details. Details about the product in terms of the timeline. You have visibility of the tasks assigned, and that helps you break down the processes required to get the product out the door. Through the tasks, there are functional requirements, making sure that everything is completed. Visibility of the current status removes any disconnect, removes any ambiguity in the process. We are tracking the requirements and making sure that we have everything that we need, and more importantly, everything the customer needs. This view gives you an up-to-the-minute, easily accessible heads-up display of exactly what's going on. The entire process is defined by a customizable workflow. This workflow is more than just a chart with boxes and arrows. Workflow here allows for gates to ensure requirements are met before moving on to the next stage. And with each workflow, there are owners, stakeholders, sign-offs, and approvals. The workflow is like an interactive map that allows you to see what the next step is and how far you must go until the end. It gives you a view that provides a broad understanding of the product status, but it can also move a step down to the task level for a more granular view. Many useful tools are included with the workflow, such as alerts, notifications, emails, delegations, and escalations. Everything is formalized and standardized to make sure that all products and projects follow a specific timeline. These are customizable workflows to fit your company and to fit your expectations. Milestones can be added to the timeline. The idea of a milestone is that you set and then you depend on a date that a workflow will either be entered, exited, or completed. This is a key part of new product introduction, to make sure that things do not get delayed or fall through the cracks. A milestone shows up on an individual's dashboard if they are responsible or even partly responsible for ensuring that a workflow state is completed. This provides you with a to-do list on your dashboard. So when you log in every day, you see the work that needs your attention. You don't have to search through a series of emails or chase down each of the stakeholders. Now, everybody's dashboard will look a little different depending on their role in the organization and their role on that specific project or product rollout. Those milestones and the workflow combine to create a project management environment. A Gantt chart will show you the start and end. It'll show you the duration and any dependencies that will also be displayed. It gives you an idea of what it takes to get a product out and shows you how far along you are at this point. And as you would expect, there is color coding with the milestones. So if a project is on time, it's green. If you're within that stress zone about it being on time, it goes yellow. And if it's red, well, then it's already late. You have all the information you need to make better decisions. And this type of information is the information that product managers really need. Easy and accurate visibility of the project status. Sorry, I'm messing up the slides here. There we go. All right. So during all of this, we are building out the bill of materials, or more specifically, the enterprise bill of materials. Now, the enterprise BOM is a listing of all the items that make up the ultimate deliverable to the customer. It includes such details as item numbers, quantities, part descriptions. You can see lifecycle state, but it can contain any other properties that you need. BOM management helps you document, track, and review every component in your product, prepare a product for manufacturing, and much more. It allows you to see the BOM at the appropriate level for you. This one is showing at a product level. It doesn't include the detail of the engineering BOM or, let's say, the service BOM. But there's also more information here than on the engineering BOM. The items like packaging, paint, lubricants, or manuals that are not designed in engineering. We have just enough detail to see the status without having to look through the information that's not relevant to us. These custom views can be configured for different stakeholders so that people see what they need to see for their role and their responsibilities. Okay, let's quickly talk about templates. So to make sure we have a repeatable process, our PLM system comes with standard templates. Depending on your industry, you'll follow different sign-offs and stages, different stakeholders and approvers, but it's all configurable and customizable. When you begin a new product or start a new project, the foundation is laid for you. Every product rollout is standardized. Every project follows a familiar workflow. What this means is that you get better over time. And as you start to adhere to the expectations, you can improve your processes and find other ways to shorten the timeline even further. And finally, since all that critical information has been captured along the way, it can be reported on to provide unprecedented access and visibility to everyone that needs it across the organization. This can be configured to show the reports and KPIs you need, creating your own insight dashboard. Some examples that we see are average time to release, how many ECOs are on time or how many are late, that's probably more important, what product line is being impacted, the list goes on. This information is especially good for team reviews, to look at the projects by due date, by type, owner, industry, anything that makes sense to you. This will ultimately provide powerful data insights, a detailed pattern of change that you can see over time. Now, think back to the impact of the poor processes and their effect on changing requirements, product complexity, resource constraints, supply chain issues, and the lack of visibility. PLM reduces that initial investment burden and moves back the timeline to help you realize profitability quicker and increase revenue over the life of the product or project. Okay, so who else has been using this? Let's look at a couple of companies that have already taken advantage of PLM. TaylorMade took advantage of PDM and PLM working together. It helped the product team redefine and optimize all of their internal processes, which were previously lost in spreadsheets and email. PLM allows you to have all that information in one place, minimizing the reliance on email, tribal knowledge, and all those unforeseen changes that are inevitable in the product development process. And then another customer taking advantage of PLM is Willoughby Holiday Homes. Willoughby adopted PLM, and this helped them with new product development and new product introduction by addressing lots of inaccuracies in the product bill of materials. It helped them improve quality by reducing the non-conformances that arose. With this newfound BOM accuracy, their products can get out the door quicker. They're not spending as much time chasing issues anymore. So what we've seen today are new product introduction tools that allow you to have configurable and customizable processes. Between the project templates, the workflow that's included, milestones, and all the required information, it allows you to standardize. This helps shorten time to value for your project or product. It sets expectations. Milestones are used for tracking to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks. Every action is tracked. When somebody goes in and approves something, or adds more information to it, moves it to the next phase, or completes a milestone, it's instantly updated for everyone, which means the data you rely on is never out of date. This gives you proper insights into your product design or project timeline. It helps improve your NPI process and ultimately improve your product portfolio. Vault PLM is the solution that helps with people, processes, and data. It can help you manage product data and speed up the product development process with workflows and standardization. You can extend the value of your product data to other departments and streamline the movement of data with integrations to other enterprise business systems. This helps with stakeholder visibility and how people can collaborate across functions, locations, geographies, and that's inside and outside your organization. So you're probably thinking, well, so now what? So if you're interested in learning more about new product introduction specifically, or what else PLM has to offer, please reach out to Tanya. Let's get together to see how Vault PLM can help your team. Well, that brings us to the end of the presentation portion, but we do have time for some questions. Tanya, are there any questions in the queue?
Thanks, Tom. That was really good. I do see a few. The first question I'm going to direct over to Shaya. Shaya, the first question is the NPI process in PLM connected with Vault?
Yes. So hi, everyone. Shaya here. Yeah, great question. So yes, the answer is yes, they are connected. And the nice thing is that, you know, the NPI process starts usually before you even have any sort of CAD documentation in your Vault. So you would kick off your NPI, you would make your decision making, and at some point when you are at a point where your designers need to start working on the design, it actually pushes that information, some of the metadata, to your Vault. It automatically creates a folder structure for them, and that becomes the kickoff point for your designers to start working in their Vault.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Shaya. Okay, I do have another question. The next question here I have is, we have an R&D process before we introduce a new product. Sorry, we have an R&D process before we introduce a new product. How does that work with the NPI process in PLM?
Yeah, great question. So, you know, depending on your process, the NPI out of the box might be sufficient for that. You know, we see that in the industry. Sometimes our clients, they would like to do some sort of workflow as a process for R&D, and then after that's approved, they push it into their production. So the NPI could, out of the box, help with that. If that's not sufficient, it's flexible enough to add a couple of workflows to also help you with your R&D process.
Okay, thanks for that. Okay, I do have another question here. It says, can you give a brief high-level overview of the cost/licensing structure? Just wondering how well this PLM software can scale down for smaller companies as well as if it grows.
Tom, would you like to take that question, or you want me to take a stab at it?
Sure. Yeah. So it is basically a per user subscription. So we've had customers start with as few as 3 folks being part of the process, into bill of materials management and new product introduction and change management. And so really, it just, as soon as you have those, even one user, you have access to the full system. And then it's just a matter of building out your processes and adding new users as those processes are ready.
There is no, sorry, just one other thing to add. There is no one-to-one ratio that you need. Since it's a scalable process, you would use it, as Tom mentioned, as low as 3 users, and as your company grows and the need grows, you can add into it. So there's really no magic number.
Okay, thanks for that, guys. There's no questions at the time. I'm just going to give it a few more minutes. Anybody, if you have any questions, please feel free. Now's the time to put it in the question and answer panel. Okay, we do have one question here. Is this cloud-based? Shaya, would you like to answer that?
Sure, I'll take that. Thank you. Yes, the beauty of PLM is the fact that it's cloud-based, because so the short answer is yes. And what that means, it means that you don't need to have the headache of IT buying a server, updating, upgrading. It's being hosted on AWS servers. There's a white paper around the security of that. So you have access to it from your phone, your tablet, from anywhere. It really makes it easy for people in the organization to have access with it, especially people on the floor who may not have like a proper computer in front of them, or even management that, they don't want to have things installed on the computers and always like having problems with loading and so on. So it really helps with those factors.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Shaya. So there's still no questions right now. I'm still going to give it a few more minutes. We have time for a few more questions. Please feel free, type your questions in the question and answer panel. Okay, I do have another question that came up. Tom or Shaya, I'm not sure who wants to answer this one, but the question here is, how does this work with an existing ERP system?
Yeah,
Shaya.
I think we could all get involved with this one.
Okay, perfect.
So at a high level, currently your process is probably, manually or semi-automatically moving data between maybe engineering and ERP and the other groups. So ideally what we'd want to set up is a direct connection. And that brings up a lot of fear sometimes, who owns which data, and that's all part of our implementation process to figure that out. But because it's hosted on the cloud, it's a very open system. So if the ERP side of it is open as well, we can certainly help create a connection between the two. That was my attempt, Shai. Do you want to take over from there?
Yeah, that was great. Thanks. Well, first of all, great question. It's a pretty common question. So thanks for that. And thanks, Tom. I think you answered most of it. The only thing I would add is, so PLM complement your ERP, because ERP is, kind of the heart of the company. It keeps track of the cost, any transactional type processes. So the cost, ordering, how many items you have off the shelf and so on. And it's also designed to be pretty rigid in terms of changing items and bill of materials, whereas PLM is built to have that flexibility around BOM management, change management, as Tom was talking about today, the new product introduction. So with the flexibility of PLM, what you would do is you grab the engineering data. Well, before that, you would do some project management, NPI, then you grab the engineering data. Since it's flexible, you make those changes. Now you have that bill of material, which is ready. And by ready, I mean it may have, ship loose items, it may have packaging, oil, electrical components, all that great stuff in it, or maybe even service in it, right? Then you send it to your ERP. So you make it ready for the ERP, and the ERP does what it does the best. At the same time, when PLM and ERP are connected, when you're looking at your bill of materials, you could also see the lead times, the quantity on hand for decision-making purposes when you're reviewing your BOM. So I hope it answered the question. I don't know if I left anything off, please point it out. Thank you.
Thanks, Jaya. So we're just going to give it a few more minutes, see if there's any more questions.
By the way, these are great questions, so please don't hesitate to ask us. We're happy to help you with them.
So far, no questions. I'm still going to give it another minute. See if there's anybody out there who has a few more questions. Okay, guys, it doesn't look like there's any more questions at the moment. Thank you for all your questions. They were really great. I hope we answered all your questions as well. Tom, if you want to take it from here and let everybody know when our upcoming next events and webinars are happening, that would be great.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Tanya. Just before we sign off, please keep an eye on the SolidCAD events page for more PLM related webinars coming soon. Recording of all SolidCAD webinars can be found on our YouTube page, so feel free to check that out. Thank you so much. And if you want to stay connected with us, I'll just share a slide with all of our socials here. Thanks so much and have a great day.